Hi guys, welcome back. Today I am doing just a chatty makeup video, sharing some of the stuff that I've been liking recently, that I've been using a lot, sharing some new things that I'm trying out for the first time, but mostly just like chatting technique and what I like right now. I hope that you enjoy this video. I hope you find it helpful. If you want to know what I got on this face, just keep watching. Okay, so before I start applying more things to my face, I thought I would go ahead and just start with what my base is because I already put it on. I wasn't feeling really good about my skin today. I had a couple more breakouts than I've been having, so I just wanted to cover those up real quick. But also, you guys have seen me do my base routine several times, and you probably don't need me to tell you that I place the coverage where I need it and then blend it out again. So that's basically what I've already done. The products that I've used, though, I don't think I've talked about, are the Supergoop Daily Moisturizer. This has been my go-to SPF, and I've used this super consistently this year. I would say that this is probably the one SPF that I've used the most consistently out of any of the other ones I've ever talked about. I definitely have liked other ones. You know, SPF is kind of funny that way. You just have to find the right one that works for you. And honestly, I think it's as simple as this is one step versus me doing two different things like moisturizing and applying SPF, that this has just been the thing that I use every single day. Even if I'm not really going out, I'll use it. But again, this is really lightweight. It gives my skin a really beautiful glow. It kind of also acts as my primer too, because ever since I started using the Hourglass Vanish foundation, you know, they suggest that you don't even need primer with it because it just blends out really beautifully. It got me out of the primer step, and I just haven't gotten back. I tried the Supergoop Unseen sunscreen for a little while. This is the more silicone blur primer feeling like Smashbox, or you know, back when people used Vagisil to really soften the appearance of any pores or texture. That's what it reminds me of. I think because now that I'm older, I don't love the feeling of stuff on my skin as much anymore. I feel like I'm a little bit more sensitive to it. And it also just didn't sit well under my makeup. So whatever makeup I was putting on top of it, I didn't love either. So that one just didn't work for me, but the moisturizer did. I would say the only downside to this is that it's in the tub, and putting my fingers in it, I think regardless of whichever way I'm trying to scoop it out, it somehow gets under my fingers, you know, even when I'm blending it out. So that would be my only complaint about it. But other than that, I think it's helped a lot with my skin, you know, preventing further damage to it because I've been using it super consistently. So once I've kind of massaged all of that in, I go ahead and apply whatever my base is going to be, whether it's a foundation or just concealer. This has been my complexion brush of choice, you know, for the entire year, I would say. I do a lot of patting motions to really like focus the coverage, and then wherever I need to blend it out, blend it out. But this has been my favorite one. It's so densely packed. It's also got an angle on it, so just gets into those areas really nicely. So now that I've, you know, applied that base and I feel like I have the coverage that I like, this is where I kind of reassess my skin. This is like a newer thing, because before I feel like typically I knew as an oily skin person that I was just gonna get oily soon, and I would fight against that time clock and I would just go ahead and bake like really quickly because I'd be like, I just want to set everything in place. But now instead I look at my skin and I'm like, are you looking already kind of dry? Like you don't need a little bit more? Maybe you're shiny in certain areas and that's it? Or do you need more hydration? I had this sample of the Lilah B Aglow facial mist. I really like this because I feel like it adds hydration and replumps the skin. It kind of, you know, if you're noticing that it's starting to look really dry or crepey in certain areas, I feel like this helps kind of rehydrate it. But at the same time, it doesn't have so much of a glow like something like the Tatcha Dewy Skin Mist that you just are gonna look really oily later. If you guys have seen me use the Dewy Skin Mist in the past as an oily skin person, you've probably seen that I apply it in targeted areas. So I kind of cover my face in the center and just hit the high points. The other one that I've really been liking is the Rosebrook Hydrating Accelerator. I feel like a lot of people have talked about this, but I like it. It does what exactly I need it to do. And I would say that these are pretty similar in, you know, doing the job that I want them to do. So in some cases I go back in with my facial mist and just give myself a healthy douse. And then I'll go in just the areas that I need it with powder. So again, this is another thing that's different. I use a super light, fluffy brush, don't use a lot of product. And I just do a veil and a slight brush because I just want to slightly mattify, but I don't want to add product to my cake. I don't want to add this extra ingredient, if that makes sense. I guess I'm visualizing frosting on a cake. Like you just want a thin layer on top, because the thicker the layer, say, like for example, in your smile lines. This kind of goes for the glasses rule as well. I used to say that if you wanted to avoid glasses marks, to just put less product there. Maybe if you can get away with not putting anything or just a thin layer of it, you're less likely to get that appearance of your makeup moving, because there's no makeup to move. All right, so moving on to the rest of the face. In my routine, next what I usually do is highlight and contour, because I usually, add some color around here and I don't want it to go on top of my brows if I've already done them. I've been really liking these Jouer Soft Focus Hydrate and Set powders. This is in the shade Tan. These have a very soft focus finish. And I'm just using a Charlotte Tilbury powder and sculpt brush to add a little bit of shape and color dimension to my face. I also really like the shade Fair to do some highlighting. I'm gonna get my ears since they're peeking out. You won't see them once I take these clips out, but just for consistency. Never forget the ears. I forget the ears all the time. Don't listen to me. Okay, so I have a couple of highlighters we can play around with. I have the Marc Jacobs Spotlight Glow Stick, which I think is a really old product of theirs, but I really, really like. And this year I used a lot. It just looks like old deodorant stick. And the reason why I think I like this one so much is, one, once you blend it in, it feels quite dry. It's not very tacky. It just has a very reflective wet look to it without feeling wet or sticky on the skin. And sometimes I pop it on top of a highlighter, layer it to give that extra pop where I need it, if something else is looking a little too soft for me. But I thought I would try something a little different today. You never know, I might still use my Marc Jacobs. This is the Wander Beauty on the Glow blush. And this is a dual-ended cream product. So you have Coral Rose blush on one side, and then you have Nude Glow highlighter on the other. So let me go ahead and do the highlighter first, because I like the glow to come from underneath blush, which is why I'll do the blush after. Because the idea is that your skin is glowing, not your blush is glowing, right? That's kind of how I think about it. In the end, it all glows. Everything glows, guys. God, why am I here? This definitely has a really pretty glow to it. I mean, look at that reflection. Ooh. But I would say that it's not as intense as the Marc Jacobs, because the base layer of the color is more of a nude base than a white or a silvery base. I think that's good. I'm actually not, I was like, maybe I'll put an extra pop of color on top of it, or an extra pop of highlight on top of it, and I don't think I'm going to. I don't need to. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the other side, which is Coral Rose, and put a little bit of that on top as well. Just see where this goes. Starting at the back of the cheek a little bit here, and then bringing it forward. I've been liking blush a little bit more underneath the eye recently. I think that's what makes it look a little bit more youthful, and it gives you that kind of sun-kissed look. On camera, it looks really pretty from what I can tell off to the side, sorry. But I feel like you're not getting the full effect of it, and I just want to look like I have a little bit more color in my face. So I'm just gonna set this aside, because it just feels like a little tacky, and I don't think it's gonna set the way that some of the other products sometimes do. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of a powder blush to help accentuate it a little bit. This is just a Colourpop palette that I made when I went to visit their warehouse. So these are all Colourpop shades. And I'm just gonna use Why Hello, which is a kind of dusty pink. And I'm just gonna start in the back, because I'm not sure how it's gonna look in the front. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I think from what I'm seeing in person to what I'm seeing on camera translates. Hopefully it looks pretty good and healthy. I think it does. If you feel like you brought in the blush too much, or you want to tone it down so it has more of that kind of gradient look, just go in with a little bit of that Fair powder from Jouer and just soften those edges a little bit, and you should be good. If you want to add that extra punch on top, you can go ahead and reapply a little bit of highlighter, but I'm pretty happy with the way that looks right now. So I'm just gonna leave it, and then do I Do I want to do more to my nose? Maybe a little bit. This is Opening Act from Colourpop. And honestly, I mostly do this on camera or if I know I'm gonna be taking photos because I feel like it keeps my nose from blending with the rest of my face. So there you go. Have a little bit more definition. If you want to add a little bit under the lip to make it look like your lip is a little fuller on the bottom, then that is something else too. Oh, that looks pretty good. Okay, moving on to the brows. I have new brow products from Hourglass. They gave me this entire kit of all their brow products. So it just opens like this. And the idea is that all of their brow products allow you to create your own version of what you want in a brow, whether it is defined, whether it's soft, whether it's, you know, whatever it is you want. Arch brow, you're already familiar with. This is something that I still use on a regular basis. I mean, I have mine right here. I still use that on a regular basis to like quickly fill in my brows if I don't care about detailing or anything like that. Just throw that in there. Then their new pencil that they just came out with is considered their defining product. So this is a really fine tipped 1.4 millimeter oval shaped brow pencil that will really help you define the brow hairs. So this is one that I'm really excited about because especially now that I've recently had my brows microbladed, I don't need a ton of filling in. So I just want to hit those like little spots and then keep that consistent look of brow hairs. But before I go ahead and use those, let's finish off the tour. So we have the brow gel, we have the volumizing fiber gel, and then we have their clear shaping gel. So naturally, you don't need to use all of these products. I mean, they're just helping you, if you have some of the products already, kind of, you know, differentiate what you can use for what. Okay, so these are the 3 shades that I am picking from. This is Natural Black, Dark Brunette, and Ash. Okay, so I picked my shades. I'm gonna go with the Dark Brunette Arch Brow to start, to kind of get the initial shape, see where my hairs are, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just go for it with Natural Black for the detail and really defining those little brow hairs. And then I'm gonna finish off with Clear. Now, you don't have to do double brow gels. I just like the way it looks. I think it really does finish off the look to finish off with Clear. It also just kind of like sets everything in place, almost like hairspray. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through this. I'm probably gonna overwalk you through it, but I'd rather overwalk you than have you have a bunch of questions as to why I'm doing things or just like, you know, understand the thought process that I kind of like go through when I'm doing my brows. So this is what I tell myself. I'm starting off with the volumizing fiber gel and I'm starting with the short end. So if you haven't seen this before, there's a short end of bristles and then there's a tall end of bristles. So starting kind of with the short end at the outer part of my brow, the tail, because, you know, oftentimes this is where the most amount of product is. So I'm just making sure that if there's any excess of product, it's on the tail end and I can kind of like work with that darker color. And then when there's less product on the brush, I bring it forward into the real full parts of my brows. And I try to brush with the natural direction of my brows, because if I try to do them all brushed up, which I've done, it doesn't stay very long. I have to use like hairspray, like strong hold hairspray, because soap doesn't even hold them really. So now that I've kind of already built the base of the brows, I can go ahead and fill in the areas that need a little bit more definition, a little bit more darkness. And it helps to like look down into your mirror and then raise your brows slightly. I don't like to mess with the actual like, you know, stretching your canvas in a way that it doesn't actually place it in the areas that you want. I'd rather just like slightly raise my brow and draw that in. So I'm just starting with a little bit of pressure and then releasing it as I finish my stroke. And that's what gives you that kind of tapered hair look. Another tip that I think is useful is remember to step back and look at both brows together every once in a while. So one, you get to see how closely they're related, but then also it allows you to see how dark you're going, how deep you're going, because, you know, when you're seeing your brow up close this close, you see every stroke, but when you're farther away, you're just gonna see a block. So this is another reason why I like the clear brow step. I feel like not only is this redefining those natural brow hairs that you might have, or you know, the initial work that we did, but then it also kind of takes away some of the darkness and breaks it up a bit. If you've gone a little too far, sometimes this brings it back down to earth a little bit. So there you have it. This is like my favorite brow. You tell which is the favorite. So yeah, that's how I do it. I'm pretty happy with that. I just took a quick Instagram break because I've been filming for a little while. I'm out of practice, so I'm just like repeating myself and going through things. But I've been staring at my brows for a couple minutes and I'm like really happy with them. I'm, you know, for a pencil, like I'm pretty happy with how they look like brush strokes, because you know, me looking at my mirror now, I feel like if I were sitting across from someone at lunch, they would just be like, damn, you got like nice full brows, like nice brow hair. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so moving on to something for the eyes, a little something. Again, Supergoop. This is their shimmer shade SPF 30 in Sunset. And I like this because it just gives a little wash of color and kind of looks like that model off duty. Like your eyes are slightly tired looking, but they also just kind of look really chic look, and they just slightly define the eyes. And this is densely packed enough that I can kind of poke this in the outer corner and work it out. So you can even intensify it by placing it with your finger. I think that I feel like it helps me look like I put in a little bit more effort when I just put on one eyeshadow. And finally, to finish off the eyes, I'm just gonna apply a little bit of mascara. I have been using Damn Girl by Too Faced, and a lot of people are like, what do you think? What do you think? I feel like it's very hyped. And my friend Kirby, who I follow on Instagram, she was the first person I saw review this because she went to the event, and she even wore it for like 24 hours, went to bed with it, wore it the next day, and it stayed and it looked beautiful on her. She has like really nice long lashes. I have lash extensions, so I feel like my mascara reviews are not necessarily ones that you should like really go on if you're like a natural lash person. I like that this defines my lashes and holds them in a way that not many others do. But I also, again, because I have lash extensions, I have my natural lashes in there as well as extensions, and my natural lashes aren't as curly as my lash extensions. So I feel like it kind of sometimes doesn't work in my favor. I like that the brush is like a bristle brush as opposed to a plastic brush. I think a plastic brush is harder on your extensions if you're somebody that wears extensions and mascara. I think that it pulls at the glue, and therefore, you know, you're more likely to lose your lash that way. So this doesn't tug, and I haven't noticed that it runs on me or anything, flakes on me or any of that. I do sometimes have trouble with it clumping or having too much product on the brush, in which case I wipe it off in a tissue or something, which is kind of wasteful. I do think that this idea that this isn't ever gonna get clumpy is wishful thinking, but I do like the way that it applies when you don't have a ton of product and you kind of take the time. Like I'm kind of just like fluffing my lashes and putting them where I want them and stuff. So back to the eyeshadow, because I realized I didn't even really say what it was, but this is Sunset. It's my favorite of the three that I have because I also have Golden Hour as well as First Light. First Light is definitely a little bit more silvery, and then Golden Hour has more gold obviously in it, but they're both beautiful. I think if you are picking one though, I would go with this one because I like that you actually get a color payoff out of it, whereas these are much more subtle. For those of you who maybe have oilier eyelids or trouble with creasing in your eyeshadow, I would imagine this would be a great base product for you. They're a little creamy, and then you can set it with an eyeshadow, and I would imagine it'd be fine. But because I don't have that problem with creasing or eyeshadow typically fading on me, I can't say for sure if that would be an issue for you. So that is basically it for the lips. You guys know I love a natural lip. I have 4 different options here for you. They're all relatively similar because they're all gonna kind of look like your lips but better, or just accentuate your natural lip color. The first one here is just a Colourpop So Juicy, and this is in the shade Intersection. I really like it because it's a sheer gloss that has a little bit of a gold fleck to it, and I think it just really accentuates your natural lip color by giving it an extra, you know, pop, like a little punch to it, and your lips do look really juicy and kissable and beautiful, I think. So really a fan of that one. Again, something super simple you throw in your bag and just pop on. Next, I have 2 different Kush Balms from Milk Makeup. One is just their Green Dragon. It's clear, it looks green, but it's just a lip balm. It goes on your lips. It has, again, a slight mintiness to it. It's not very plumping though, but it does kind of balance out the lips, and I think it looks really natural and nice. It's something literally I throw in my bag and I have in there whenever my lips get dry. And then their version in Nug has like a slight tint to it, but a very natural tint. It just kind of gives your lips that slightly muted color. And I like this because, again, it's like one of those where it gives you a wash of color. You don't have to have a mirror. You're not afraid of going outside the lines, or, you know, eating something where it's going to start wearing out from the middle out or something like that. It looks really natural and nice. So like those. And then finally, this is a Buxom Stain. I'm just gonna take a tiny bit of this off. And this is in the shade Smooch. It's like a peachy color. It's definitely a little bit more on the orange side than some of the other colors I shared today. This is very specific. It smells exactly like the blueberry Greek yogurt ice cream bars that you get at Whole Foods. I have them. These are amazing. And they smell like this, or this smells like this. That's just what I think of whenever I'm wearing it. The texture of this is like slippery. It's different. I really, really like it. But this is just something a little different, and it wears well, so it's not gonna move on you. And by placing a little bit more in the middle and blending it out, obviously you get that kind of like popsicle look. All right, so I think that's all I'm going to play with today. I just wanted to do my makeup. It took me most of my day. All right, guys, so that's it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that I shared some helpful information, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.